And we're live. Hey guys, welcome to a special edition of Whiskey Charlie. I'm your host, Mo from Mo's Game Table, and joining me today are Yves and Patrick from VUCA Simulations, where we're going to be talking all things Red Strike. Welcome to the show, guys. Appreciate you guys being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
And so now Red Strike has finally landed. It has finally assaulted the front lines, shall we say. And what are you guys' thoughts? First off, we'll go with Patrick. What have your thoughts been as far as the success of it as the publisher? And what's the reception you've heard as the publisher?
Yeah, so thanks for having us. Since we've published the game, we had very positive feedback. So you can check it out on Board Game Geek. It was overwhelmingly positive feedback that we received, because also Yves is so responsive, right? I have the feeling he doesn't sleep at all, and he's only hanging around in the Facebook Red Strike group and answering questions on Board Game Geek and wherever.
Yeah,
so that's crazy. Yeah, right. Yeah, and in terms of sale, so we went into another direction with this game for the first time, because we didn't sell it to distributors and shops. We are just selling the game via our online shop exclusively, and so it worked out quite well. So
it's great. So you're not going to go into distribution at all. You're going to just continue to sell it direct
with the Red Strike, yes.
Okay, great.
Because we had a limited print run, and the cost of the production was quite high, so we decided to not cut the share, like the profit for each sold copy, because it was quite a substantial financial risk and invest at first. So yeah, and we just wanted to see if it works, because VUCA gets known more and more, and so we thought it could be time to just try it out.
No, that's great. And has that posed any challenges as far as deliveries and things like that, being that you're the sole source of distribution?
Yeah, definitely. So we have two warehouses, one in Germany and one in the US and Texas. So we are able to distribute and to ship it worldwide quite quickly. But shipping to the UK, for example, imposes some challenges, because from time to time customers get taxed, right?
Yeah,
they have to pay taxes, and that's something we have to find a way around. So our future releases will probably go with shops again, and then we'll see if we can choose like some bigger distributors instead of multiple smaller shops. We'll see where it takes us.
So you said that it's a limited print run. How close are you to selling out?
We still have stock left.
Okay.
But yeah.
So anybody that's looking to get a copy of Red Strike, don't sit around waiting.
No. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, you don't have to be in a rush, because it's also quite a substantial invest of personal money for the hobby. So
yeah, that's great. But again, as you said, it's getting VUCA's name out there more and more. And the more people see games like this and see the quality of the productions that you guys put out, it's just top shelf. I mean, you guys are really set. I've said this before, and I'll say it to your face too here on this. You guys are setting a new bar for all war game publishers. You really are. And it's fantastic, especially being at you young guys. That's great.
Yeah. We just look young, so.
Well, you're younger than most of us. Everybody always says about the grand of the hobby, and I'm proof right here. So.
Yeah, but nevertheless, we've all been playing war games personally for, I don't know, 10, 20 years. So we thought when we started out that we wanted to deliver nice graphics, because there was lots of good games which didn't deliver on the graphics part, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, you guys are doing that. You're not only doing the graphics, but you're doing the little things that are big, like instead of just your standard, card stock player aid, you're coming out with chipboard
Yeah.
player aids, things like that are very resilient and everything. And of course that's an added cost too, but it just increases the production value and makes it that much more of a nicer presentation on the table and, longer lasting.
Yeah, I think that's part of our philosophy to have good components, and we don't impose any restrictions on our designers. So as Yves can tell, I mean, when we started out, okay, we had to cut some counters because before we had
Some
each truck,
1,000.
yeah, like each truck in a separate counter, and it was crazy. But that's more a matter of playability than of production cost. And
Yeah.
I'm
That's
constantly
great.
also thinking about how to implement other component types, some, I don't know, blocks or whatever. So we're actively thinking about how to improve playability of games, like
Sure.
using cubes or whatever. Yeah.
So Yves, now that this is finally landed for everybody, what are your thoughts? Was there a big rush of relief, or was it a combination of relief and a little bit of anxiety because you're waiting to see what everybody feels about the game? What's it been like for you?
I'd say a lot of anxiety. And I thought, okay, now it's out. Now I can concentrate on the next project. Well, no. I'm still working, I guess, 80% on Red Strike, answering questions and working on the version 2 of the rules that we want to bring out, so that we are really not only errata but also clarifications. Most of the questions are in the rule book, but maybe not good explained from my side or ambiguous sometimes. So it's really more of fine-tuning than really errata. There are errata, of course, yes. I mean, that's normal, I guess. But yes, anxiety was there because I did not know how people would really react on when they get the box and they open it. And it was such a great feeling getting all that positive feedback where people were opening the box and they said, wow, it's really great, it's fantastic. And that was the first wave of good feedback. And then I said, okay, now it looks good, but does it play? And now over the last couple of weeks, people are playing it, they are loving it, and they are discovering it. And each time that I want to be a little bit like, yeah, I know it's complex, but and then people answer, no, it's fantastic, it's just great. And that's the point that I want in the game. And so I'm always relieved that people accept the game is a complex one, but they also say it's not a difficult one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different thing if the rules are difficult to implement or if it's difficult to play. And here it is, it's more the playing is you have to think about a lot of things, and there are so many things that you can do and you can't do at that point. And that is really that makes me really very happy that people are. I would say I have very, very seldom people that don't like it. I mean, one or two guys who said, yes, it's not my cup of tea, and that's totally okay. I mean, I have also a lot of games that I don't really like.
Sure.
But I have tried them, and yes, that's life. But really, responses from players are really great, and even when there are things that are wrong or not really clear, I always get positive feedback that, yeah, but you answered, that's the main point, and you work on it, and that's okay. I mean, that's fine. They are really. I'm really astonished how. Astonished. I don't know, but the wargamers seem to be very acceptant. They accept really. They know what work is behind it because they
Yes.
play for so long, and they know that no wargame comes out that doesn't have errata or clarifications needed. And that's
Yeah.
really a relief for me. And that is also very motivating to make the next version the best one.
Well, that's the thing that, I think we've talked about this offline. We've talked about it here. We'll talk about it here a little more. There is the issue with games like this that are complex because there's a lot of layers involved, where you're teaching, you have all these different pieces of mechanics that are working together and to give you an overall story. And to get there, you have to kind of put the effort in to read and learn. And there are some people that don't on the first read of the rules, they may just misinterpret something, or they didn't read all the way through. They didn't read 2 or 3 sections down or whatever. But either way, most people, when they look at a complex game, they go, this is going to put some effort. I need to put some effort into this. So I need to, when I'm going to play this, I'm going to set aside the next week or two and I'm playing nothing else but this game. And I'm going to concentrate on this game, because it takes that level of effort to learn a more complex game than, say, I don't know, some basic 2-4 page rule book. It's like, I can throw that down on a table and I can read it in 10 minutes and boom, I'm playing. This is not that type of game. Although you do have the training sessions designed in such a way that you can do something similar to that.
But even there, people are, that's something that was surprising to me. People love to play those small scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
And they find things that I've never seen in those small scenarios. And with people that have nothing to do with the development of the game, playing the games, these small scenarios, I discovered myself that they are much deeper than I thought they would be. And you can change things, and you can also discover things. And it's even the small ones, they are really worth playing. And for me, it was just like exercise scenarios where you learn the mechanics, but people also like those small ones. Not all of them, but some of them are really on the hit list. Yeah, that was really surprising to me. I didn't think about that.
Also, work doesn't end when we publish a game, right? And we are thinking about this hard, how to deal with errata and questions and living rules for more complex games. When we take like smaller games, which are English editions of previously existing Japanese games, for example, it's more easy. So we'll make sure that the rules work, and that's fine. So questions do not pop up frequently as they do with Red Strike, for example, because it's just a complex game, and it has been a huge project. And Yves was spending hours and hours with different volunteers, which helped in playtesting and proofreading. And still, we publish the game and questions keep popping up. So we are thinking about how to bring the rule version number 2, like the errata and all the stuff, to the players. So we don't want people to have to pay for them, but we can't print like the rules and send them out for free. So we'll publish PDF files so people can print them, and we think about creating some kind of update pack which will contain physical rules and player aids, but this pack should also contain new scenarios or something to have added value, and then we'll sell it for like our own expenses, so we don't go with the loss, but that's something we don't want to earn money with, right? And so that's something we're thinking about, how to deal with this. And also Yves is doing so much work still on this game, right, on Red Strike. So he wanted to work on other games, but it still takes so much time.
Well, you said before he doesn't sleep. He said before he doesn't sleep, and I'll tell you, I can attest to the fact that he doesn't sleep because of the time difference. We go back and forth in private messages that I'm like, dude, why are you awake? It's like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning your time. He's like, I'm just getting up now. I'm like, I was messaging you for you to read that when you woke up later in a few hours, and here he is responding to me, and I'm like, dude, go to sleep.
I think it won't get better when the Vassal module is out, right? Because people tend to play even more, right? And
but that's cool. That the game is there to play.
So, but we will note down all the feedback, all questions, all erratas, and then we will incorporate it in the revised rules, in the living rules and living play rates, and then I don't know, maybe we can manage to publish it in late February, early March. I think that's the target.
Well, this is something that, not to cut you off Yves, I just want to add this in here that Mike says, meandering Mike says, as board gamers, we're very appreciative of designers and publishers that are responsive to questions and issues upon release. Thank you, which is very true. War gamers do appreciate the efforts going in there. And I know sometimes it may not feel that way if you get one or two negative Nancy's in there that want to just complain. But remember, that's the vocal, very much the minority when it comes to the highly appreciative majority that does really does appreciate the effort you guys put in to do that extra step.
Yeah, that's nice. We also tend to get such positive feedback when we're at conventions, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're at conventions playing our games, people come by and we chat about games and game philosophy and components, and so that's pretty cool. I think the wargamer crowd is a nice crowd in general.
Yeah.
So
it is. So now with the Vassal module coming out, and you're anticipating there'll be a lot more people playing that, because it will be easier for people to play that because you can just load up a campaign rather than set up the campaign, which takes a lot more time, and you could play it or one of the battle scenarios or just an exercise. You do it in a couple of mouse clicks rather than having to pull anything out and pull out your counters and all. You expect more people are going to be even having more questions from that, or just expect more people being more interactive now?
I think more people being interactive and play it like face to face, not on the table, but two or multiple players in one game. And I mean, the Vassal module is pretty neat. It has like added features I haven't seen like this before. So you can switch on the ADN networks, and you see what area is will be covered by the ADN networks, and you can just click and see the hierarchy of the organization, so you can see which units belong to a headquarter if you select the headquarter, and it's pretty cool. So
Detection
you
ranges for the AWACS.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's also a good way to end any arguments if you're playing a physical board game. If somebody has a laptop with them, they could pull up the Vassal module and say, this is outside the network. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Here, I'll pull up the Vassal and I'll show it to you.
But then you have to move every counter. Like on the map, and
you can just
so
yeah, but you can see the different, like the things that are static. You can be able to see where the ranges are in AOX. You can just, what hex is it in? Boom, here. Okay, here's the range. Nope, it's not within range. Something like that can settle any arguments if people are that intense. But it's pretty cool, I think, to have that and have those added capabilities. Plus the fact that you played on the Vassal, it will help you translate that to the board game too, so that way you can say, in the Vassal, I know this is out of range. So it does, you can make that transition a lot easier, I think.
The Vassal model also has John has made a huge job on doing the Vassal model, and for example, he has also integrated battle mats for naval, air, and ground units, where you can with one click you send your troops from the operational map to this battle mat, where you only see those units that are involved in the combat. You can resolve the combat, and afterwards you right click and you send them back to the map. I've never seen that feature before, and it's just making it so easy to play, even easier than in physical. It's really great. John has done a lot of good work in it, and like Patrick said, there are features I have never seen before, and it's really great.
And Jess is saying here that I've set up C2 campaign. I've only found 3 errors. I love the setup charts provided.
Yes, okay.
And this is another great point, going back to what you guys were saying. Good customer service results in customer loyalty. That's very true, because you come out with good quality products, and then you come out with a game and you have the level of support you guys are having. That carries a lot of weight, and people will sit there and go, you know what, they're coming out with this next game, I like it. And some people might hem and haw because of the price or whatever. It's like, no, I'm dropping $150 on this game, $175 on this game, whatever. I'm getting that level of support, so I'm not going to hesitate to buy that game because of that.
And indeed, they're not doing anything else than what I expected to get from other companies. Some did great jobs, some less, but I was just always looking for what I'm doing right now.
Very true. Very true. And Harry Z says, just got the Donnerschlag update kit. It was worth a couple of bucks a cost for a rule book and a new set of cards and play rates.
Yeah,
that's also one thing. Oh, sorry, Yves, just a
No,
second.
it's okay.
So obviously we had to put down a financial investment for the print of the new rules and the new cards. And somewhat it's a difficult topic because we don't want customers having to pay for it, but we can't give it out for free. Although it's somewhat our mistake when the game isn't 100% perfect on release, right? So we added we used some better material for the cards, at least. So you have somewhat a higher value to it, and then we sell it at our cost. So we have free shipping worldwide, and if we ship to Australia or to Asia, we go with a loss for each sold copy, but it will be made up with our sales in Europe or the US, and somehow it evens out. So that's the way we went with that one.
So
if we want to do the second version of the rules, well, not if you want, we are going to do it. I'm working on it. One of the ideas that we have is really, as Patrick explained before, is to maybe sell it or put it online for free. That's normal. But if we want to sell it, we want to give something that customers, players don't have for right now. And I'm working on an extension for Red Strike, which is the Nordkapp, so the northern part of Norway. And it's pretty good. It looks very nice, and I think that will please a lot of people. So we have not yet decided on what we are going to do, but if we are going to print everything, and then you will get the updated rules book and player aids that have also changed a little bit, but you will also get a complete scenario model, a new map, new counters. So that makes it for us viable to make it. To also, there are I would say 20 or 25 counters that would be nice to reprint them. But if we can do that for free, it's not possible. But if we do it and you get something more than only just the rectified counters, I think it's a way we could imagine to do.
Yeah, because then
I
you're
don't know if
actually
Patrick is okay with that.
yeah, you're actually able to
Yeah,
give something extra. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Nate is here too. He's saying something about eating crayons. I don't know what you're talking about, Nate. So Primarch X Vassal module. My plan is to play this Vassal first before cracking the counters to get a feel for the game. Much thanks for putting one out. That is actually another thing that some people will do. Some people will only play Vassals. They'll buy the physical game, but they don't have maybe the table space or whatever. The wife won't let them use the dining room table all for weeks on end or something. So they just get the Vassal module, and it's easier to do it on your computer than it is on the table that you can't, or you have cats in the house or something like that, that they're the enemy of all war gamers. They're like the Godzilla of war games. They just wreck everything.
Catzilla.
I know you've got cats.
Yeah, my cats, they are quite cool. They know how to behave when I'm there.
Good.
When I'm not there, I don't know, but when I'm there, they behave.
So let's see what else we got here now. So you're talking about adding some extra stuff with the reprint of the rules, things like the updated rules, things like that. For those who want the physical, you can still get the PDFs for free.
Of course.
And then you can get the added material along with the printed if you pay a little extra money to get that.
Exactly.
But as far as the future of the series, what are your plans for that? Once you get through this portion of updating the rules and everything, what are the future plans for the Red Strike series?
Yeah, that's a good point, because the version 2 of the rules and maybe 2.01, whatever, they will also be used for the next games in the series. We want to make a series out of it. We are working on it. And the only project that we really want to talk about, because that's myself, I'm working on it, and I advance on it. That's the Falklands War 82. So that will be a historical one, not a hypothetical one, then like Red Strike. That's for sure. That's 100% that we are going to do that one, and it will be a gateway game to get into the series, because it will be very small. Well, very small. It will still have a couple of hundreds of counters, but it will be small in scale, but the same rule set as it is in Red Strike. So people that are maybe put off, and I understand it, of this Red Strike monster game, they might really be attracted by this smaller game to learn the mechanics also and to have fun, still fun to play that game. And maybe then afterwards they say, oh, this is really working nice, and now I will try the big one. So, and Falklands was my first war that I really lived, that I really saw on TV. So that was always stuck with me, like the Cold War getting hot, turning hot. So, not getting hot.
The Cold War went hot with Red Strike, I'll tell you.
It's a different scale, right? Different ground unit scale, especially the land portion of the game. But it is such a good situation for this system because we have naval, we have air, we have land combat. So it just suits the system. Excellent.
Yeah, and the strat map that will really be nearly the whole of Argentina, and you will have the islands, Falklands, Sandwich Islands on it, and then we will zoom in to the operational map. And that I was really Pablo, our graphics guy. He made up a draft of the Falklands, and I thought that would be 2 hexes, but no, it's still 5 or 6 hexes to get from San Carlos to Port Stanley. So it's gonna make quite a game to play, even if it's totally different. As Patrick said, the scale is the same, but the scope is much smaller. We have maybe 10 ground units when we have now hundreds of them.
Yeah,
it will be much more focused on naval and air war game, of course. Yeah.
It's much more. It sounds like it'll be, or it should be, when you compare the scope between the hypothetical World War III that you're doing in Red Strike and then what happened in the Falklands. It's going to be much more manageable. So it would be a great, as you said, entry point, because you can concentrate on learning the rules and not have to worry about getting intimidated by counter count. And then once you realize, hey, I understand these rules, and now I can you know what? I can manage all this now. It's going to make it easier to graduate up to the bigger game, because there's still going to be there's going to be a lot more counters, but now I understand everything a lot better. And I think that, as you said, is a great point.
But that's also why we integrated the medium-sized scenarios to the Red Strike game, right? So you don't have to play the big campaign to have some fun. You can use the medium-sized scenarios, and you have multiple ones and different ones. And
we got a question here for Yves. What mechanic do you like best in Red Strike? What mechanic would you like to have implemented?
Well, what I like most is the interactivity, so that you're very seldom looking at the other guy doing something. You always have to watch out what he's doing. Is he sending some air missions? He's sending missiles, and you have to count maybe victory points for you because he's attacking a city. So it's really very interactive. That's what I like most about the game. But I would have liked to implement what I didn't. There was one thing that was really hard to let go of, but Patrick insisted a little bit. but for the good of the game, I think. That was all of these things that you see sometimes in these hypothetical Third World War games, where countries have civil unrest, and they capitulate if you have taken this city or bombed this city. And I had a whole system for that. And if it worked or not, I don't know, because we have never playtested it. But that was something that I saw in The Next War, I think. The Next War. Not the one from Bruce Maxwell, but the other one from, I don't know. And that was very intriguing, and maybe that would have given something more to the game. But that's the only thing that I remember, that I recall now, that I would really have, that I really had to scratch off. Is that answering your question?
I think so. Primark, if that answers your question, great. If not, go ahead and post another comment in here.
Yeah.
So we do have another one. Any thoughts on adding Italy or Austria to the area?
Nearly. So Stuart he came forward to do a game with us, and he wanted to do a totally different game system, and he has now agreed to, a couple of weeks ago, he agreed to stick to the Red Strike system for his first game, because the system is there, it's solid, it's stable. Sure. and he's working on the Balkans, 89. So Greece, Turkey, Bulgaria. The name of the game will be Strike Back. Maybe that sounds.
There you go. I was going to ask you, are you going to have a series name for it? Is it going to stay in the Strike series, or are you going to have you thought
Yes,
of even that?
the next one, Falklands, will be Strike Back. So the Empire Strikes Back. That's clear. For the other games, we are open. So it must not always be Strike, but the rules will be. Well, at least for the moment, I insist on the rules being 95% the same. There will be adaptations. For example, in Red Strike, there are no weather rules because it is 1 month in summer of 89. So you don't need any weather rules about that. But Falklands in the winter time down there, without weather, it would not be realistic at all. So we are working on it. One French guy, he is totally fanatic about airplanes, and he's also a harpoon guy. So he plays a lot of harpoon. And so we are working out a nice system for the weather. Not too complicated, but cool. And you maybe we will do historical weather and Return of the Red Eye.
Return of the Red Eye, yeah.
So maybe historical time weather and hypothetical times.
What about taking parts out of the rules, like take naval out, or just take air out, even, or maybe both? And just have something that's a ground conflict, or primarily a ground conflict, maybe some limited air. Would you be okay with the system being used for something like that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, anything that is fun and it's cool, why not? Mm-hmm. I have no conditions about that, Patrick. I guess not either, not at all. That said, I have the idea of doing Red Strike partly for solo gaming, but only the air part. The air part, I think I could imagine something that works for solo gaming. The ground part, I have no clue how to do that. No way. Naval, difficult, probably okay. But air, I have some ideas. But it's just an idea for me. I have not written one sentence of the rules or whatever, but I could imagine to do something like that. And to come back to the question, somebody asked about Italy and Austria. Yes, there are ideas about linking Balkans when it is done with Red Strike. Yes, right. That was the question. And without going too far, but I have in mind something about Switzerland. I have contacts in Switzerland, and maybe that would be interesting to see.
No, that's true, and it is a good example.
Surrender and morale rules in a country scale,
yeah. Adding a lot of bookkeeping. That's one of the things that you have to try to, that's one of the things with Red Strike, with all the strike packages that you create when it comes to the air missions. Do you see, or do you find people are having issues with any of that, tracking those?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Okay. No, people are even asking for more, that they could send more missions, and I calm them down because then it's totally unplayable. How to keep track? Then it's the point how to keep track of 50 different missions coming in, and that's not the point of the game. I mean, it's abstraction. It's if you send one mission, that's not one mission. That's a couple of missions that have been done over time of 48 hours. And it's not one plane, and it's 48 planes, sometimes 24 planes that do a lot of transactions, operations. So explained like that, people say, yes, okay, now I understand. And having all those counters moving at one time, no, that's in a computer game maybe, but
that's
not
a lot.
And
that's where it does lend itself very well to a team aspect, because you can have multiple players, 2 to 4 players per side. And when you're playing, especially the campaigns or any of the big battle scenarios, you can assign different jobs to different people, and then it makes it go a little quicker, and at the same time it's a lot more interactive, because now you got 4 people that are all concentrating on different things, or 8 people even concentrating on different things, and they're all interacting with not only their teammates but their opposition as well. And that, I think, is going to be a great situation for conventions.
I can give you feedback on that in 1 month time, because then I will have lived through that. I have already done team play 2 versus 2, but next middle of February I am in Seattle at a Gamers Convention, Game On, from Jeff Newell. I don't know if you maybe know
Mhm.
Jeff Newell. And there we are going to play 4 NATO players against 3 Warsaw Pact players, at least at the start. Afterwards we will be 3 versus 3. And next Sunday evening we will decide for definite who is taking command of what. So if it's one air guy and one strategic guy, so it's still open. But it makes for a lot of faster gameplay, of course, and you have to talk, you have to communicate, you have to arrange things. And the last team players that I did, it was just fantastic. It's such a blast. It's not because it's my game, but it's it's really a blast.
Well, I think it also illustrates to the gamers, I think, when you're playing a team game, if there's any communications mix up, or I forgot to tell you that I was doing this, or you forgot to tell me to do that, or whatever, then you understand the issues with command a lot better, the errors that can happen in the real world, and it's like if 3 or 4 guys can't communicate, how the heck do you expect 3 or 4,000 people to communicate effectively all the time? So it does give you a better appreciation for that, I think.
Too right, and it's more fun.
Yes. Yeah.
If the interaction stays on a normal level, nobody is throwing beer at somebody, and it's okay.
So when it comes to the videos that you use to train everybody on these, what has been the feedback on that so far, and anything that you would have liked to have done differently, or maybe do something?
First of all, thanks a lot to having done that with me. I could never have done it alone. I have to say, I discovered how much work it is to do these videos. It's just 5 or 10 minutes of video, and it was for me already 1 hour of work. I stand in awe for all of those YouTubers that do content. It's wow. It's much more work than I thought ever.
It is for a short video. People don't realize how much effort goes into not only shooting the video and then editing. It's a lot of time.
Crazy.
But you were cranking them out, though. You were doing a great job.
Yeah, well, before I sent it to you, I also edited it for a long time. So
yeah,
you did not get the raw version. So to answer your question, the feedback was very, very good. People really, there are a bunch of people who have watched all of those videos. I never thought that somebody would do that, but for me it was more like, I have a problem with that rule, then I will take that video and watch that rule video. So basically it's very good, and it has been well received. What I would do differently is I try to do a playthrough video. A bunch of people have asked, they would like to see it in action, a real turn, a bunch of counters and doing that. And I thought about that, but when I have done the small videos and they were already such a huge workload, I just said, no, I won't do it. Now with the vessel model, it's going to be easier. And I'm planning on doing something like that. Or maybe next week I am with Patrick in Spain at the BalotaCon, and we will mount the game. So maybe we can do also some playthrough videos there, because we have time. So why not do it there? Yep. Or next month when I'm in the US. So that's something that people are missing. People would like to see it in action. How are the things sequenced and how it works? And but for the rest, what we have done has been well received. I have not read lately the comments under the videos. Maybe you got some.
Yeah, I've seen some of the comments people have asked, and I just haven't gotten with you to there's not a lot of questions. I think they take them, they transfer them over to BGG or to the Red Strike group on Facebook, but there have been a few. We'll talk about those offline.
Actually, that's the way I learned to play ASL. Right,
really?
There was a guy posting how to play Advanced Squad Leader in videos, which were like, I don't know, 1 hour, about 1 hour each. And I used to watch them all on my phone on the way to work. So I just learned ASL from watching videos. And I think that has been such a great experience. And to have the videos in a shorter version helps for sure, because not
Mhm.
everybody's going with the train for 1 hour every day. So having smaller chunks of videos definitely helps. But I think it's great for learning a game.
Yeah, I do too. And when you do it,
The stuff, right?
what's that?
Or to reinforce the stuff you've read in the rules before.
Exactly, because the reason why I even start doing the video stuff is because I myself am more of a visual learner,
Yes.
and I think that it's easier for me. Like when I'm playing a game, I'll literally will get a game, I'll set it up and read from the rules from there. I don't like some people will read the rules first. I'll kind of glance through them, but to me, I'm like, now I want to do it. So I'll get in there and yeah, it makes for a longer first play because they're like, okay, let's go through the setup and everything. But it's also a good way of testing out the rule book, how good it is, which can at times lead to hours of effort put in, depending on the rule book itself, if there's some confusion there. But with videos, you can actually see ahead of time, even before the game's released or when it's just shipping out. You can start watching it, so that way when you get the game in, you can be punching the counters watching the video. And and you already have a feel for it, and then you're like, oh cool, yeah, and then you want to get it on the table faster.
Yeah.
And also with the smaller videos that Yves did was you can like if you know what, how do I do this one little piece? Oh, let me go watch that one video that's 3 minutes long, not hunt through that 2-hour video trying to find that 3-minute section. So it makes it a lot easier.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. That's the point that I like all of those videos that are done for the games, but if you have to look for that small rule, that is my problem. Having to watch 1 hour or 1 hour and a half video, it's just that was really what made me do these small videos.
Well, that's great to hear all the
Thank you.
comments here. Shooting Star videos are worth it. Made a difference between purchasing a physical copy and waiting for the Vassal module. Jezza's working through the videos now.
Cool.
Richard
Hey,
led to the purchase. A long form entire video is useful to show the elements working together. Yes, that is a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we will do. Well, I will do.
John is in Germany.
Hey, John.
So Jezza prefers video to reading. Now, the thing I like about it, being a visual learner, is I like to sit down, watch it, or do it, and then I go back to the rules after to reinforce what I've seen.
Okay.
Which is where I think it helps people because they can watch the video and go, now you have a point of reference visually in your head when you're reading the rule. Go, oh, now I know what this rule is talking about because I've seen it, and it sticks better. And then you can also, you just have that point of reference where it now makes reading easier than when you read it. You're like, okay, I think I know what that piece is going to be. I think I know what this piece is going to be and how they work. But when you see it, it all flows a lot better.
Yeah, one feedback I got from the videos is also that maybe I should have had more special cases in it. I mean, we agreed on doing the standard ones,
sure,
and not go into the deep specialized cases that might happen once in a lifetime. But yeah, some people said they would have liked more of these a deeper explanation of the rules. What happens when this and this happens together, and so.
Sure.
So
well, you can always keep a track of those, and we can do a special case video. If say you have 5 or 6 special cases that happen rarely, but people have brought them up, we can do one video that has all those special cases.
For example, one of the things that we discussed with the US boys this evening was how to cope, how to do a long strike from the B-52s from the US holding box all the way into Russia and back, and you fly over the op map. And yeah, that were questions that, of course, I have not thought that they would be really that important or questionable. But yeah, the questions rose, and probably when they have the question, then other people will also have the same questions about these B-52s coming in and launching their cruise missiles into deep Russia. So yeah, it's something that you should do.
Leave it to wargamers to come up with different ideas to try. And hey, I'm not sure if we can do this or not, but I think this would be cool. And then they ask you, you're like, well, yeah, you can do it this way, but I didn't think of that before.
Yeah, that happens a lot of times. So that's fine. That's fine for me. I mean, the feedback that I get is really helpful to make the next game even better, and the series to make it grow.
Yeah, that's a good point here by Primark. He says, oh yeah, the initial playthrough always has me going back to clarify what seemed to be confusing. 9 times out of 10, it was my reading comprehension, and going back corrects the error, which is, again, it goes back to where I think video helps, because you see.
I have a great example for this. There is a really great guy who's playing the game, and he's keeping me in touch. We are keeping in touch. And he said, the Russians, they can never win in this. And I feel it. It's nice, but. And we talked about it, and then we found out that he missed completely one very important rule. So, yeah, and he said, okay, I'll redo my complete first turn. Yes, sorry, because it ruins the game indeed. But yeah, he agreed. I'm a bad rules learner, so that's no problem. He had no problem at all with it. He said, yeah, okay, I just didn't see that.
How many times have you guys played a game, a war game especially, where you're going through and you're like, man, this game is really not that good.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of stupid. And then you find out later it was because you read the rule wrong.
The most frustrating for me is when I don't even get to play the game and I put it back again in the box because the setup is so difficult. That's the reason why we have these setup displays. And albeit I have done so much quality control, there are some errors on it. And that's really pain for me, because I know that I myself, when I play a game and I set it up and I have a lot of questions because of the setup, and I'm really angry. And we tried our best to eliminate that frustration. And I think there are somebody said, there are 3 errors in the C2 setup. The C2 setup is a campaign game, so there are hundreds of counters. So I think 3 is acceptable. But at least you know where to put the units and how to start the game, and that is very easy. It takes time because it's huge, but it's easy to do.
I think wargamers already understand, if you're going to get a monster game, you go, okay, this monster game is not going to be a 15-minute setup. This is
I mean, if you see this and you put your counters on it and then you put them on the map, compared to the lists that you had,
sure,
you have listings like at work, and
MMP's listings, everything's straight text.
Everything is wrong. And so I think this is really a great way to do a nice and clean setup.
Yeah.
And if there are still errors, yes, my fault. Sorry.
No, that happens though. But this is the type of game where if you're going to play it, if you're planning on starting to play Friday night after work and you're going to play all weekend or all week by yourself, you start set up on Wednesday, Thursday night, and do it. Because you're going to be like, okay, get it all set up that way. When I come home from work on Friday night, I'm just going to sit down and concentrate on playing. And you understand that, you know that, because it's a big game. But that's why you got it, because you want to have that big experience, or you can play the smaller games.
Yeah, your choice.
Yes. So I mean, I'm glad that the videos did help. I'm glad everybody has seemingly.
I think it was worth, and
really
it's also a sign that I wanted somehow to give. We don't shy away from working to get everything done that people can play it. And I want the game to be played, not to be sold. I mean, okay, it's nice if people buy it, but it's my baby, and I want the people to have fun with it.
So now here's a question for both of you guys when it comes to you with the game development side and then Patrick with the production side of things. How many people in total worked on Red Strike? I know that might be a hard number to come up with, but 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30.
No,
50.
I would say it boils down to about a dozen.
A dozen people.
But of whom 9 were just playtesters. Well, I mean, thank you. But that have done the playtesting and given feedback and played the game alone, solo, and gave feedback. But really working on the development, on the design and whatever, that's Pablo, that's Patrick, that's Nicola, that's Jim. Jim has done a lot of work with the rereading and proofing of the rules, and Etienne and Nicola have done a lot of. So maybe 4 or 5 guys who have really invested a lot of time in it. Yes.
Wow. So you think about it, and this is something for the audience too, especially the customers. We'll call it a half dozen, we'll round it up to half dozen people. A half dozen people were the ones who did the bulk of the work on this. That's when you think about the scope of the game, the scope of the project, it's not a lot of people. That's a tremendous amount of effort put in by those people.
Mhm.
That's
So
true.
hats off to you guys.
So we had volunteers. So once more,
Yeah.
thanks for all this help. It's been tremendous. And also Pablo, our graphic artist. So he invested a big part of his life into the finalization of the game project. So he drew all the aircraft, we researched all the squadron badges and stuff. So it was a lot of work, obviously. Yeah. That was
People
great.
don't realize those little things,
Yeah.
that we, oh, that's neat. They don't realize the amount of effort that goes into gathering
Yeah.
that
It's real
information.
ones. It's not fantasy. It's those that were really used.
Yeah.
So
It's effort, but it's also fun. You know, when we're sitting there for hours and researching the badges and saving the files, and then just for Pablo to have him draw the badges later on, it's just also fun, right? We wouldn't do it if we wouldn't enjoy it.
no.
But I mean, like I said, I just want to, tip the hat to you guys for getting such a big scope game with just that few people. People that I just want to make sure people realize and appreciate the fact, the level of effort that went in by that group of people to create this monster game. That's huge.
Yeah, thank you. I accept it for all the guys that worked on it with me.
I like this here. Primark X says the whole section of the Red Strike printed materials that does nothing but provide examples. Oh, chef's kiss, much appreciated.
Yeah.
Dan says, weirdly, I find it relaxing setting up a game. Red Strike is not that hard of a game to set up. That's a great point that Dan makes. I do find the same thing. Setting up a game can be relaxing. Just put on some music, look at the thing, and set it up, because I'm generally not going to play it that night unless it's a smaller game. If it's a big game, I'm setting it up the night before, and that's the relaxation period. So that way I don't stress setting it up to play the next night.
Also, it's a philosophical question. I mean, some games have fixed setup, like we do. We have a determined hex for each counter, but sometimes you just have like assignment areas where you can set up, and that's hard if you don't know a game, right? So that's why we deliberately chose to have fixed hexes, and then have like the pre-war movement phase. So then you are actively moving your units, and then you can vary in how to build up your forces and the structure.
And to learn about your errors in the first time,
yeah. But the setup itself, it's fixed, so you can do it without having read all the rules, without having any clue of what's going to happen.
It's a good starting point.
Yeah.
But
then it goes to the pre-movement. That's where you learn your mistakes. Right. You go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I just got my ass kicked over there.
Yeah, and it's also, I always repeat myself when saying that it's a game about planning. So if you don't know what, for NATO, if they don't know what they are how they are going to respond to the onslaught of the Warsaw Pact, then the pre-game turn movement will be not a good one. Because if you want to do flexible defense and really want to let the Warsaw Pact come, then you are not going to move forward, or you are going to move forward, but with a different mindset. And it's really something that you have to think about before you do the pre-game turn one movement. But if you don't do it, doesn't matter, because you have your fixed set up, and it's already there. You can start. You have a good starting point.
And that's a great point. You're talking about planning, and when you look at the map, that's where you can start sitting down. And this could also be another relaxation thing, and it could also be a whole nother night of just planning, where you sit down and you're like, okay, let's look at the terrain. What would I do in this area? Because you have to remember, individual areas are assigned to individual commanders. So you have to kind of wear a different hat each time you look in different sectors. So you look at it and go, okay, over here, well, this is they're limited to this avenue of approach. Okay, well, I can just worry about concentrating on defending here and here. My fallback line will be here, so on and so forth. Then you move to another area. They can come in from anywhere. What do I do? Okay, best guess, I'll do this, this, and this, and then here's a fallback, things like that. You can actually draw on your plexi with your markers and get that all prepped up. And then for the Soviets, I've always found the Soviets, when it comes to Cold War gone hot games, it's pretty simple. Just bum rush everybody, just go hard, because that's kind of the way their tactics were, and that's how their command and control was, versus NATO, which is much more flexible, things like that. So it does add another dimension that you can just enjoy yourself, or you can just play the game and just go at each other and roll dice.
You have a good point there. About the planning. I mean, some people have asked me, why is this? There is a small paper of the map that has been furnished with. That's for the planning.
Planning map.
You can photocopy it, and then you can write on it, and you can say, well, this is what primary targets and whatever. And that's really that's key to have a good play of the game.
Yes.
For example, now, as you have talked about the packed bomb rush, and so yes, that's a way to do. And I've explained to I will play NATO in next month, but Jeff, John, who is playing the Warsaw Pact, he asked me about some tricks, and I told him the Warsaw Pact, it's very unrealistic, and probably he will never win because he reaches the channel. That's an auto victory if you reach it, but it has never happened. But you can still win the game because there are victory points for this, for that, and for that. So if you plan your game, look where are the victory points, and where you can get enough victory points, I would not say easily, but where they are reachable. And if you get more, well, cool. But there are some victory points that you can reach, and try to get them. There is no way you are not going to win because you drive through Fulda Gap and you get to Frankfurt. No, that you will get some points, yes, but you will not win the game with that. You have to have a larger scope. You have to really have a larger strategic thinking about what you want to achieve, and you want to win the game. And then you have a look at the victory points. That's the key to win the game.
It's true, and we got people saying like 50% of easy setup is counter storage. 100% agree on that. That is massively important to getting your setup a lot quicker, and excellent setup charts. And we have. Love the aircraft divisional badges. Really helps with the immersion.
Cool.
What I learned playing is that 500 points, 500 points to supply the Soviets.
People always say,
not a whole lot of supply.
1,000 points. What? And after the first half of the game turn, they say, oh, I've already spent half. Yeah, that's the point. You have to keep track of that, and you can't use everything every time.
Yeah, that's one of the things that a lot of people get so used to in war games is basically unlimited supply on top of God mode view. And like, that's not the way that works in the real world. So we have to understand there are things that are going to be really abstracted out, but adding in, issues of supply, and then, oh, wow, I really can't pay for all this. Well, yeah.
Well, you can. In the first game turn, first two game turns, you can, but then. Yeah. And then the one who has still supply points over, well, he will have the air supremacy. He will still maybe do ground combat with deliberate attacks, and the other guy cannot do anything else. So it's also a kind of poker.
Yes. Yeah.
You are keeping your supply, or you are using it, and maybe the first thing should be push, maybe not. It depends. And it depends on your counterpart, and it depends also on of course, also a little bit on how you are going to work. I had some guys who were using missiles to shoot at ground units. Don't waste your missiles on ground units. That's not. You learn it when you do it, and you see that it doesn't help you really much.
Yeah, that's one of the things. It's like that I've always say I'm the type of person that will do something like that. I'm like, hey, what happens when I do this? Because I just explore systems just to see, when I'm playing, I'll explore and go, yeah, that didn't work out good. Or surprisingly, it'll work out great. And then I'm like, wow, that worked out good. I'm going to do this every time. And then it fails every other time I do it, because the one time I got lucky, it just worked out in my favor. But that's one of the beautiful things about games, is you can explore things and try different things each time.
Learning by doing. Yeah, right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's also the fun part. And generally, when I explain to people, well, you did that, but that's a waste of time, a waste of energy. Yes, so what should I do? Well, try this. And then I say, oh, yeah, cool. Now it works. And that's how it would have worked in reality too, I guess. An educated guess.
And the other thing too, I would say, and I've told you guys I do this myself, and I don't know how many other war gamers do this, but I always have a notebook near me. I have a bunch of notebooks, and depends if I'm keeping something for testing or development or something, I'll write it in a different notebook. If I have it for content creation, I have it in a different notebook. And if I'm just doing it for fun or for exploration, I'll have it in another notebook that I'll make notes as to what I'm doing. Sometimes I'll even detail out my turn and say, okay, I did this, this, and this, and this is what happened, in short form. So that way I can reference it later, and also to keep track in my head as to what's going on. But then I'll also make notes on rules that'll catch me, that if I forget, oh, this is something that happens, kind of a special case or something, I know I'll forget because I'll just forget. So I'll make a note on it and things like that. I found that writing when you're playing, it adds the narrative process to the game. And on top of that, it just further helps cement the rules in your head, because you're writing down the experience you're having. I don't know how many other people, if anybody wants to comment in the chat here, who else does that? Because I think that's a great tool for wargamers to use as well.
Well, I do it. I'm going to show you my notes that I have, that even after having played the game, I don't know, 100 times, I planned my first turn against Thierry when I played the last campaign. I planned my first turn really with objectives, the name of the objective, the hex where it is, because you are easily distracted by the battlefield is so huge that you are easily distracted and you don't stick to your plan. And if you don't stick to your plan, you risk that you are not going to do what you wanted to do. And so it's really a good point that you bring. I always, not always, but when I play against a good player like Thierry, then I have to do it. Otherwise, I don't have a chance against him.
Yeah. Well, it depends too, because sometimes a lot of times when I end up playing the way I play, I keep my opponent off guard a lot, because I keep myself off guard because I don't know what I'm doing half the time.
These are my notes.
Nice.
And then I give them nice names like Operation Open Sky, Operation Clearview, where I really put for here is the ADN in 3620, the Wisselhövede 2621. Those have to be attacked with the 295s from Tutov. So also I already write down who is attacking where, and when I stick to the plan, normally it works out better than if I don't.
See, now that's actually another good thing that you can do, as far as like when it comes to, if you want to do a different type of training videos, to do like a narrative one, write out the turn that you're going through, you and your opponent, especially if it's in Vassal, you can keep the files or whatever, and then you can actually videotape, just record, I should say, not videotape. You can record each thing and then narrate over it afterwards. I did this, and then he did this, and then I did this, and he did this, and you can condense this game that took a week or two for you guys to play on Vassal back and forth. You can condense it into like a 5-minute video, just showing the progression, the back and forth. I think that'd be something cool to explore too.
Yeah, maybe, probably. No, I'm sure. Yeah.
I think you might hear my dog in the background. He's barking at someone walking by. So we're going to wrap this up here. So what I want to do is see if anybody has any final questions here, post them in the chat, and then we will ask them of either Yves or Patrick. And then I want to go back to Patrick here real quick and see what else is next on the docket for VUCA Simulations.
That's a good question. So I don't know where to start here. So we are working on, I don't know, about 15 different games at the moment. And they are in different stages. So next one's out will be 1812. Napoleon's Fateful March, which is a game about the Russia campaign from Napoleon. It uses hidden orders, and it's also card driven, and you will place your order blocks on places where you have troops, but the opponent doesn't see which orders those are. So it's somewhat some fog of war involved. And the other one is Traces of Hubris, which is the next game in the series of the Traces of War game from Tetsuya Nakamura, like the system from A Victory's Lost and so on, which covers Fall Blau, which is Case Blue in 1942, the drive on Stalingrad. And that's the two games which will go to the printer within a couple of days.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then we have some series we are working on, and some multiplayer games also, a 4-player game, a 6-player game, a new game of the 1914 Nach Paris system, which uses the same mechanics in 1916 in Romania. That's an interesting project. Yeah, so there's still something going on in the background. Yeah.
That sounds great. You guys are definitely busy, that's for sure. So
yeah, I need to update our website. I want to do that and create Board Game Geek entries and all that stuff. But we're busy traveling next week to VUCA Con in Spain in Badajoz. So Yves will be there. We'll be there. So if someone from the community is there, please join us. Step by. We can discuss some things. And we are going to playtest some games. Yeah, so I think an extensive update of our website will follow in mid-February.
So. Okay. No, it'll be great because you definitely have a lot of things in the hopper, as we say here in the States, that are gestating. And right now, Red Strike has taken up so much of you guys' effort as far as getting it out, and then the support of it now.
Yeah, he's going crazy with it.
He's crazy already.
Yeah. Thanks so much. It's great.
I love that.
That's a good problem though to have. You know, the game is doing really well, and hopefully it'll sell out pretty soon, and then you guys will be forced to do a reprint at some point. You know,
yeah,
because that's good. When you have that level of success, that's great. You know. And hopefully it'll just continue to build the brand for you guys and get everybody aware of VUCA Simulations and all that you guys have to offer, and the level of quality of the games as well as the level of support just continues to ramp up with each game.
Thanks so much. Also, I wanted to state that if anyone has like recommendations or criticisms, just drop us an email so it will not be lost, and we'll take it seriously. So we live from players' feedback also.
Well, we do have one last question. Primark X, I don't think I've ever seen a game box that big. Was it hard to source? That's a good question.
Yeah, we had to increase the depth of the box because the components wouldn't fit in. Yeah. Well, but that's something. If we as a publisher do not impose any restrictions in terms of components and quantity of components to our designers, that's what the result of this decision, right? So.
Well, the good thing about it is, the really good thing about it, and the thing I definitely want to thank you for doing is not only, I mean, yeah, you got this big giant 5-inch box or nearly 5-inch box or whatever, but you had all the components in it. You had plenty of space to add in trays. Storage is so important in war games, and so many games they come out with the standard 2-inch box, 2.5-inch box, maybe a 3, and that's a big deal. Yeah. And you barely can fit some games into those boxes, and everyone's like, well, just use baggies. No, we want trays so we can sort things and easier to set them up and all that stuff. So thank you for doing that. That's huge.
Yeah, cool.
But that will do it for us today, guys. Really appreciate you guys for stopping by. Everybody came in and asked some questions and gave some feedback. Appreciate Yves and Patrick for stopping by and joining us today. And if you have not gotten your copy of Red Strike, do it now before it goes out of stock, because there is a limited stock, and I don't know how much is exactly left, but don't wait any longer and miss out on it. And continue to do what you guys are doing. Great. Yves doing a great job on supporting Red Strike. Patrick doing a great job with VUCA. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to nothing but great stuff from you guys in the future.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks to all.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.